Rural Americans trust tap water. But in hundreds of towns, the danger is invisible. Nitrate, a fertilizer-linked contaminant that turns geology into a household bill. Under the Safe Drinking Water Act, public systems must keep nitrate below 10 milligrams per liter. Yet 1/5 of Americans rely on elevated nitrate systems, and 64% of violations are in California, Texas, Kansas, Nebraska, and Oklahoma. Nitrogen pollution costs the United States $210 billion annually. Agriculture generates 75% or $157 billion of that damage, twice the market value of all United States corn produced for grain. A chemical built for war helped maximize yield, then left rural towns drinking the legacy. The roots are military. In 1909, Fritz Haber and Robert Le Rossignol synthesized ammonia at 400 to 600 degrees Celsius, and Bosch and BASF scaled it. During World War I, synthetic nitrogen replaced blockaded Chilean guano for explosives. In 1916, the National Defense Act created the Fixed Nitrogen Research Laboratory. In World War II, the War Department built 10 plants, including Jayhawk in Kansas and Ozark in Arkansas, yielding 730,000 tons of ammonia annually from 1.6 million capacity. In 1945, those plants were sold. Kenneth Spencer bought Jayhawk and formed Spencer Chemical. Allied Chemical bought South Point. Monsanto absorbed Ozark. Then, farms reorganized around the new supply. From 1940 to 2015, nitrogen application rose from 0.22 to 9.04 grams per square meter annually in the Corn Belt, Great Plains, and Pacific Northwest. Farmers replaced 26-bushel corn with Pioneer 354 hybrids to triple density. Anhydrous ammonia fell 50% from 1960 to 1970, returning $3 to $5 per dollar. In 1959, corn consumed 1/3 of United States fertilizer, while average farmers spent $1,103 against $16,705 in sales, favoring fall application. The MRTN framework accepts loss. Composted manure mineralizes at 11% versus 21% for non-composted. Delayed V8 split application cuts nitrous oxide 58%, boosting profits 15 to 19% in dry conditions and 1 to 15% in wet. Yet the maximum 218 kilograms of nitrogen per hectare raises yield only 6%, while boosting nitrous oxide emissions 64%. Tile drains 3 to 6 feet deep, bypass riparian zones, and move nitrate directly into streams. SenseFlux shows agriculture delivers 58% of nitrogen and 46% of phosphorus to the Great Lakes, with tiles carrying 66% and 76%. The USGS shows groundwater provides 50% of stream flow, while carrying 48% of its nitrogen. Aquifer travel times are slow, 1.6 to 1.9 years in Long Island Sound, 7.0 to 8.8 in Dutch Flats, decades in California's Central Valley, and 0.3 to 1,701 years in the Missouri River alluvial aquifer. Cedar Falls nitrate traces to the mid-1970s, while Walnut Creek has a 21.6-year lag. 15% of nitrogen remains trapped 30 years later. Under a 0.16 depletion constant, a 50% reduction takes 5 years, and 95% takes 19 years. A frontal approach near outlets cuts 30% of loads by converting 20% of land, while a distal approach requires 90%. When nitrate reaches wells, towns need anion exchange, or RO, reverse osmosis, a membrane filter. Clear Lake spent $412,390 on anion exchange, plus $9,200 for salt, taking 60 to 65% of his time. Hiawatha spent $3.5 million in 2017. Lincoln Pipestone spent $1,706,650 on RO, with $31,000 for membranes and $36,000 for power. RO wastes 20% of water and adds $100 to $200 per customer yearly. Melrose and Cold Spring cost $1.15 and $1.40 per 1,000 gallons, while Clear Lake costs $7.23. Municipal bonds fund 90% of projects, with $300 billion outstanding. After 2007, insurers collapsed, raising rates from 5.16% to 5.30%. That 14 basis point spike cut $1.5 billion in debt and $274 million invested. Deferred upgrades caused 165 more violations yearly, affecting 458,000 people. Moody's, Fitch, and S&P downgrade utilities. Creighton spent $605,507 in 1993 on RO, requiring $3 million in rehab and operations over 5 years, and adding $60 monthly. Hastings spent $15 million on RO, costing $60 per person annually, while Ong spent $160,000 on a well. Dodge and Plainview faced $2 to $3 million to pipe water 5 miles. Wisconsin spent $45 million on mitigation, while total costs exceed $116 million. 1 in 8 Americans use private wells, and 95% of rural Nebraskans drink unregulated groundwater. Point-of-use RO costs $150 to $1,300 and wastes 3 gallons per gallon purified. Whole house RO costs $2,895 to $4,800, with pretreatment exceeding $15,000. Deeper wells cost $5,500 to $15,000 and can risk arsenic or uranium. Beverly Grand residents paid $58.79 monthly, 4.6% of median income, well above the EPA's 1.5% limit. Low-income families spend $1,200 annually on bottled water. In Iowa, 3 out of 4 RO homes exceed 9 milligrams per liter. Health stakes are direct. In the body, nitrate becomes nitrite, causing methemoglobinemia, or blue baby syndrome. Infants under 6 months are vulnerable because of low NADH cytochrome B5 reductase, risking seizures or death. Nitrate also competes with iodine through the sodium iodide symporter, disrupting thyroid hormones, and forms N-nitroso compounds linked to colorectal, kidney, thyroid, pancreatic, and bladder cancers. A Danish study of 2.7 million people found a 15% higher colorectal cancer risk above 9.25 milligrams per liter, with risk starting at 3.87, below the EPA standard of 10. Iowa researchers link 300 cancer cases annually to nitrate. Iowa was the only state with a significant cancer increase from 2015 to 2019, ranking second nationally. Wisconsin's nitrate-linked cancer costs $23 to $80 million annually, and Minnesota faces $745 million in avoidable costs. An extra milligram per liter in town water causes $4 million in annual damage. Why is the problem so hard to stop at the source? Under 33 U.S.C. Section 1342 L1, the Clean Water Act exempts agricultural return flows from NPDES permits, and Pacific Coast Federation versus Nichols upheld that shield. Courts narrowed parts of it in Oxford Royal Mushroom and Reynolds versus Rick's Mushroom Service, but row crops remain protected. In March of 2017, Des Moines Waterworks' suit was dismissed because drainage districts were ruled immune and unable to control fertilizer. The 2008 Gulf Hypoxia Action Plan pushed Iowa's nutrient strategy toward a 45% reduction. Cover crops cut field loss 31%. Bioreactors and buffers cut nitrate 50%. Enforcing MRTN on Iowa corn-soybean acres would cut 28,000 tons annually, saving farmers $32.3 million. Yet the strategy cost $388 million in 2016 and $420 million in 2017. SRF loans offer 50 to 100 basis points below market, but exclude operations. Newer fights move through petitions, budgets, and lawsuits. In Minnesota's karst region, limestone lets runoff pollute aquifers serving 391,000 people. In 2023, groups petitioned the EPA under SDWA Section 1431, and Minnesota allocated $16 million for testing, RO, farm loans, and land retirement. In April of 2024, groups petitioned for Northeast Iowa. In Oregon, residents used RCRA. In March of 2026, Amazon settled for $20.5 million. Nebraska researcher Eleanor Rogan linked nitrate to pediatric cancer, but Director Jim Macy, influenced by the governor, ignored warnings that uranium and arsenic appeared alongside. Nebraska has no nutrient strategy, and the legislature voted 39-0 to charge for email redactions. In Iowa, the EPA removed 7 waterways from its impaired list on July 11th, after July 1st closed-door meetings. The final ledger is uneven. Property values drop 15%. Health damages hit $157 billion, and Salinas Valley grower costs rose 591% to $29.72 per acre. Rural towns maximized yield, only to drink its legacy.